A pre-dawn cargo flight lifts off from Bogotá's El Dorado airport crammed with roses bound for Miami's Valentine's Day rush. 48 hours later, the same jet returns filled with semiconductor tools for a new assembly line outside Medellin. That two-way traffic tells the larger story of Colombia's economy. A country still earning hard currency from classic exports, yet agile enough to plug into the most modern supply chains on the continent. The turnaround began in the early 1990s, when high inflation was eating people's salaries and savings. In 1991, Colombia rewrote its constitution and, for the first time, made the central bank independent from day-to-day politics. Before the reform, government ministries could simply order the bank to print pesos to pay bills. Prices then jumped more than 30% a year. After the reform, the bank's board was told to do one main job: keep inflation low. By 2000, the yearly inflation rate had fallen below 10%, and between 2002 and the pandemic, it averaged about 4%, the same pace as the United States. Because prices stayed predictable, banks began offering long mortgages, and pension funds felt safe lending money for 10 and 20-year highway projects. Between 2010 and 2019, Colombia expanded at an annual clip of 3.8%, faster than Brazil, Mexico, or the broader Latin American bloc. Even after a painful pandemic slump, GDP rebounded 10.7% in 2021, added a further 7.3% in 2022, and is on track to settle near 2.4% in 2025, about the same pace the IMF expects for the United States. Those gains have fed a growing middle class. Nearly 30% of Colombians now live in households classified as middle income, up from just 16% at the start of the century. Those highways changed trade routes. A decade ago, it took 14 hours for a truck to crawl from Medellin through the mountains to the Caribbean port of Cartagena. The government invited private builders to design, finance, and maintain new toll roads, projects known locally as 4G. After a tanker crash on the Bogotá via Vicencio Road in 2013, cost exporters US $30 million in spoiled produce, officials wrote contracts that rewarded private builders for minutes saved, not just asphalt poured. That small rule kept costs honest and attracted both Colombian pension funds and foreign banks. Today, the same trip takes about 10 hours, and trucking costs have dropped nearly 20%. Farmers who once chose only high-value air cargo, like flowers, can now profitably ship heavier goods, avocados, oranges, even tilapia, by sea. For decades, the backbone of export earnings was oil, coal, and coffee, but the trade map is becoming more colorful. Colombia is the world's #2 exporter of cut flowers, shipping more than 700 million stems of roses and carnations to the United States for Valentine's Day alone. Coffee is still a star, but it now sells mostly as high-grade specialty beans that earn 25 to 40% more than standard coffees. Cut flowers have climbed to almost US $2 billion in yearly sales, second only to the Netherlands. Hass avocados, barely on the radar 10 years ago, brought in US $260 million last year. Good enough for 4th place worldwide and first in growth speed. Manufacturers join the party too. Medellin's clothing firms, once limited to local stores, now supply Zara and Under Armour because they can deliver new designs to US shops in 20 days, half the transit time from Asia. In the 2000s, oil royalties still covered up to 30% of public revenue, but policymakers saw the risks of relying on one commodity, especially after crude collapsed from US $114 to US $27 a barrel in 2014. Their answer was a two-track strategy. Track 1, expand trade horizons. The 2009 US-Colombia Free Trade Agreement, negotiated under Álvaro Uribe and ratified during Juan Manuel Santos's term, opened duty-free doors to the world's largest consumer market. Parallel pacts with the EU, Korea, and later the Pacific Alliance created a tariff-free corridor that now touches 60 foreign economies. Foreign companies have noticed. Colombia has signed 17 free trade deals that give its goods tariff-free entry to about 60 countries. A t-shirt sewn in Barranquilla can enter Canada with zero duty, while a shirt from Vietnam still pays more than 16%. Last year, foreign direct investment reached US $17.4 billion, the highest ever, and 2/3 of that money went into sectors outside oil and mining. A US biotech firm chose coastal Barranquilla for a US $200 million expansion after figuring out that local electricity rates are 25% lower than in Florida and freight to Houston takes only 3 days. Plentiful young talent helps. 64% of Colombians are under 40, and the country produces 44,000 engineers each year, more per capita than Brazil. That pipeline feeds a fast-growing tech scene. That talent fuels a booming business process outsourcing sector now worth US $28 billion. Global names like Accenture and Concentrix run Spanish-language call centers from Medellin that cover US time zones without the jet lag or high wages of Manila. Colombia hosts about 360 fintech startups and has already produced unicorns, private firms valued at over US $1 billion. The best known, delivery app Rappi, operates in 9 countries from a coding hub in Bogota. Rappi's US $5.2 billion valuation crystallized the narrative. If a Bogota-born app can operate in Brazil, Peru from one code hub, then so can fintechs such as Addy, Treinta, and Omnibank. Venture capital inflows confirm the shift. Just US $80 million in 2016, over US $1.2 billion, even after global funding cooled elsewhere. The creative sector, film, music, fashion, and video games, adds another growth engine. In 2019, lawmakers passed generous tax breaks. Any large creative project can deduct 165% of local spending and skip import duties on gear. Netflix, Disney, and Amazon have since filmed 43 original series in Colombia, spending roughly US $600 million and employing about 35,000 local workers. Bogota's arts districts now generate 6% of the city's economic output, more than traditional oil services. Energy policy is turning greener at the same time. Hydropower already supplies about 70% of Colombia's electricity, but the country also enjoys strong desert sun and steady Caribbean winds. La Guajira's desert winds clock steady speeds above 9 meters per second, the same class as Spanish offshore farms, while the Cesar Valley records 2,700 sun hours a year. Government auctions guarantee 15-year prices to wind and solar investors and offer a 50% tax credit on upfront costs. Developers have lined up 4.5 gigawatts of clean energy projects, roughly 1/3 of current national demand, to be completed by 2028. European firms are also backing pilot plants to produce green hydrogen, betting that shipments from Colombia's ports can reach Europe cheaper than alternatives from Australia once canal toll discounts apply. Tourism rounds out the picture. Peace agreements with guerrilla groups opened new jungle trails and Pacific beaches. The 2006 Democratic Security Plan and the 2016 FARC Peace Accord cut rural homicide rates by 2/3, freeing 5 million hectares for legal agribusiness and ecotourism. Hotel chains followed quickly, and visitor numbers jumped from under 2 million in 2010 to 6.7 million last year. Foreign travelers spent about US $9 billion, enough for tourism to overtake coal as a source of export revenue. Cruise ships now home port in Cartagena, with each visit injecting roughly $500,000 into local spending on food, fuel, and excursions. The institutional context reinforces these sector stories. Colombia entered the OECD in 2020 after overhauling procurement, competition, and labor codes. Transparency International now ranks it ahead of Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina on corruption perceptions. Financial inclusion leapt from 68% of adults owning a bank account in 2014 to 92% in 2023, thanks to digital ID onboarding and a wave of mobile wallets. Stable democratic handovers, every president since 1958 has finished his term, stand out in a region prone to abrupt policy U-turn. Colombia still has work to do. The gap between rich and poor is wide, fossil fuels make up a quarter of export sales, and new wind and solar parks in the desert must be built with local indigenous communities in mind. But the overall trend is unmistakable. Prices are stable, public debt is manageable, and the country now sells far more than oil and coffee. 3 decades of steady rules and targeted investment have turned Colombia into a rare mix of tradition and innovation, and that balanced approach is what keeps the economy climbing. Thanks for watching.
Like, comment, and subscribe.